is, the message and the outline, and am I going to say all the words the correct way? Like, what am I going to say? I wish sometimes that's all I had to focus on, but the reality is I'm worrying about everything. Sound, the internet connection. Yeah. It's everything that I have to do. But if now back to what we were talking about. All right. There you go. But, hey, if you heard the broadcast last night, we started talking about literal Bible interpretation. And I hope that you found that to be somewhat beneficial and somewhat helpful, but you will know that we kind of ended it without reaching the complete conclusion. We were reviewing a message, reviewing a sermon, and we made it so far, but we couldn't get right there to the end. So now this is one of those awkward situations where we have to kind of come in and try to bring this to a conclusion, even though we'd only maybe a small part of the sermon left. So it's going to be kind of weird, but hopefully we can make it beneficial. So let's do this. I didn't have it pulled up, but let's do this. Let's start with a very, 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 very important principle. And I started the broadcast last night with this. So let's go back to this quote from a book called Dispensationalism. And because I think this is very, very important. It really sets up the reason we're spending this time doing this, right? The reason I decided to spend over an hour last night reviewing the audio about literal Bible interpretation really goes, it's deeper than just, which, do you use a literal hermeneutic? Do you use an allegorical hermeneutic? It goes deeper than this. Because in Christianity, there's never-ending dispute and argument and fighting constantly about everything. Nobody can agree on anything. And a lot of times the fights are happening. And it sometimes bothers me that people are fighting because they are fighting, but neither one of them realize, or they seem not to realize, that the argument is a waste of time. It's an exercise in futility, because until both individuals stop and go, wait a minute. What is your premise? What is your foundational premise that you're using? Because until you can decide what the foundational premise is, then you're just arguing and you're never going to get anywhere, because you have an irreconcilable difference. You're not looking at things from the same premise, so you're never going to be able to come to the same conclusion. Well, that a fundamental premise when Christians are arguing about theology or doctrine, the premise is what ultimately is your hermeneutical system you're utilizing to come to those conclusions. Now, there are very specific systems of hermeneutics, right? You can call it the literal hermeneutic, the historical grammatical hermeneutic. You can call it the allegorical. There's these very specific systems. So many times those who maybe have gone to seminary, Bible college, who've read lots of books on hermeneutics, they're operating, they should be, hopefully, from a specific system, and they're being consistent with that system. That's the goal, right? So if you got two people who know, okay, I know your premise, I know my premise, then we can immediately start off going, okay, well, then we're never going to see anything eye to eye because you're coming from a different premise than I. And so hopefully people with that kind of education and